Victor Wembanyama is already the best defender in NBA history, or are we completely overreacting because what's happening around him right now in the league is something we're simply not used to seeing from a player this young and at the same time this dominant on the defensive end of the floor, while on one side there are voices saying that Victor Wembanyama has already changed the game, that he's impacting entire offenses before the play even develops, and that he could dominate the defensive Player of the Year award for years to come. On the other side, there are people urging caution, saying he still hasn't proven enough, that the history of the NBA is too heavy for comparisons like this, and that names like Bill Russell, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Dennis Rodman built their legacies over many years before being placed at that level. But the reality is that when you watch what's happening on the court, it feels like we're witnessing something abnormal, because it's not just about blocks or defensive stats, it's about the fear he creates, it's about players driving into the lane and suddenly giving up on the play, it's about offenses having to completely change the way they operate just because of his presence, and that raises an even bigger question, because is that impact already enough to put him among the greatest, or is it still too early to say that, and beyond that, does he already have what it takes to lead the San Antonio Spurs to contend for something big in the NBA, or does he still need more experience, consistency, and time to get there, while history shows that even legends like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Tim Duncan had to go through tough losses before reaching the top, which makes this debate even more interesting, because we're talking about a generational talent who might break the pattern, but at the same time still needs to prove on the court that he can sustain this level when the pressure truly rises, and that is exactly what we're going to break down today. To understand whether Victor Wembanyama is already a historic defensive reality, or if we are still in the middle of a hype that needs to be proven over time.
I sure don't want my brother KG getting mad at me, but it's facts over feelings. And hell yeah, he's the best defensive player I've ever laid my eyes on. He got my vote this year. He's going to continue to get my vote, and this is the first of many. We could talk one award that's not going anywhere, that's going to be owned by Wemby for the next 5 or 6 years, is going to be Victor Wembanyama. It's his ability at 7'5", 7'6", whatever height he is, to be able to do everything. And when I say everything, if you want him in the drop coverage, in the pick and roll, he does that with the best of them. If you want him to switch out on smaller guards and slide whatever size shoes he wear and get down in the defensive stance, he does that as well. I mean, he's going to lead the league in shot blocking. He's going to go down, if not the greatest shot blocker to ever play the game of basketball. But it's the stat that's out there, and I don't have it off the top of my mind, of teams not driving to the basket. Like, teams do not drive to the basket. They are scared to drive to the basket. In order to beat the Spurs, you got to be able to knock down tough, contested three-point shots. Because the reason that they're contested, because of the wings that they have on the perimeter, they're pretty damn good defenders as well. So when you think about Wemby and you think about how young he is and the tenacity, that's another thing. In order to be a defender, a great defender, you got to have a killer mentality. He has that. That smile and that swag he walks in with, don't let that fool you. He has it on his mind. He stands on business, and he is the best defensive player I've ever laid my eyes on.
It's funny, Perk, to your point. Somebody the other night in game one got into the lane and thought better and made a U-turn out of the lane. There's no block shot recorded there. It's just a shot that's completely discouraged. I am not old enough to have seen the great Mr. Bill Russell. You know, I remember I was 10 years old and I could see that my father wanted me to watch Bill Russell because his defense, he's the greatest defensive player of all time. People I've seen. So since that was a long time. Yeah. I mean, I was trying to, Perk, I mean, there have been some great defenders. I mean, and not just Rodman, Draymond, Hakeem. And I did see Hakeem in his prime all the time. I was around covering the league for that. And I saw Dennis Rodman when he was a menace. Dennis Rodman covered everybody. Dennis Rodman took Shaq out of games. Saw it, was there for it. All right, so we don't want to forget that Dennis Rodman was a nuisance and a menace, and he was great at it in a way, in an all-court way. But Dennis Rodman is smaller than you think if you see him in person. Right? 6'7" and a half, maybe 6'8", maybe. You know, wiry, like a marathon runner. Wembanyama, my God, the shots he just blocks, discourages, changes what you're doing offensively and what it is that you think you can do. He takes your confidence early in the game, and you see teams just doing things that are completely out of character.
He was the greatest undrafted player to ever play the game of basketball, but we're going to look up, and if Wemby stays healthy, he's going to have 7 to 8 Defensive Player of the Year awards. 7 to 8 of them. Not 4 or 5, not 6 or 7 or 8.
First unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. The cat is 22 years old. That question seemed crazy in the beginning, best defensive player. But then when you really think about it, it's like, actually, that's right on. Do you think Wemby can carry the Spurs to a title this year?
No. And I am captain of Team Wemby. I stop what I'm doing. I don't know that he's going to go on a list for me. My whole life, I feel fortunate. I got to watch Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods. That's the list. That's the list of things. I would make up excuses. I would lie and say, no, I can't get to your wedding. I got to work because I'm watching Tiger on Saturday and I ain't going. All right? So those 3 people to me were people that defined sport as we know it. There have been others. Those are the 3 for me. I now am watching Wembanyama with that same early curiosity and fascination, pursuit. I don't care who you are except 3 people. We mentioned Bill Russell already. Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan. Other than that, of the primary players, who didn't have that kind of despair? I know Michael Jordan had it. It took to year 7. We know LeBron had it. It took to year 7. You can still see him walking out of Boston Garden, taking his jersey off. The greatest players have despair before they win. As a rule, overwhelming. Do I think that Wembanyama can lead a team past Denver and OKC if it comes to that this year? I know, Perk, I'm close. I'm like close to giving in on my own. You know, you have these rules of thumb that you come to live by because you've been around this stuff for so long. And I'm going to take it, you could go to football too, but the NBA particularly. And I'm putting the brakes on, and I'm saying that either Denver or OKC, and maybe OKC, defending champs, they get him after he come out of a 7-game grueling series with Denver, have that scenario. Is he then going to pick it up and go beat OKC?
Yeah, but he's generational. He's
a freak of he's once in a
so he could, if anyone could do it.
If anyone can, Shay, I don't want to go against history and what I've seen. There are 3 people who've defied it. So he could be the 4th.
Well, I'm gonna continue to stay on. I'm gonna continue to stay on that hill by myself right now, Wilborn. To be honest, and I got the Spurs winning the championship this year. I have them winning the championship. And yes, it's because of the generational talent of Wemby, but it's the others.
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson, who's probably going to win 6-man. Steph Curry went toe-to-toe in that 7-game series. Harrison Barnes, champion, bring experience in off the bench. Dylan Harper, he has an old soul. He's been here before. Hell, he's been around winning all his life, right? And then you look at guys like Stephon Castle, who has been a winner, won at UConn, knows how to win, knows how to play with that physicality and that tenacity. Last point, they got a head coach leading the charge in Mitch Johnson, who I voted for as Coach of the Year. The reason I voted for him, and one of the reasons that I got the Spurs pick to win, is because he has got these guys bought in where they play agenda-free basketball and they sacrifice for the betterment of the team. And when I saw them game 1 walk in with all their suits on that Kelly Olynyk's bought, see, people thought it was a fashion statement, but to me, that showed togetherness and that showed chemistry because everybody walked in with their suit on. See, last but not least, let me tell you something. If you know a person and you got love for a person and y'all chemistry is to the highest level off the floor, you're going to go that extra mile for that person on the floor. And that's what we see right now.
They have a form. Well, I want to put a point on something with Castle. Castle, to me, and I thought this was when they drafted him, Castle is the new Kawhi. And I don't mean play style. I'm talking about just, remember, Kawhi goes and he joins Tim Duncan and Manu and Tony Parker and Pop, and he's practicing in this laboratory of brilliance every day. He's got the demands put on him every day. Castle has that.
Yep.
This is like, it was like Kawhi and back in 2012, 13, 14, and Castle comes and he joins this outfit that has a culture. Most overused word in sports, except San Antonio actually has it. They have a culture. They know what it is they're doing. It's tried and true. And he comes in, and you know what, Perk, I didn't do it. I really wanted to vote Castle third team All-NBA this year. Might it be a little early? Maybe. But he's coming. Yep. He's going to be a great player on his own. And to your point, if those guys can fit, maybe there won't be that despair.
You're
maybe
coming
he
around.
won't. I am coming around.
He's coming around.
I'm coming, but
I think he's on
some big
the
games